Have you ever lain awake at night, staring at the ceiling, your mind racing with thoughts you can't quiet? Maybe it's the worry about bills, a fractured relationship, or just that nagging sense of emptiness you can't quite explain. It's a feeling we all experience at some point, a restlessness that makes us wonder, is there more to life than this constant striving? If you've ever felt this way, then I want to invite you on a journey with me today. A journey to discover rest for your soul. Not just the kind of rest that comes from a good night's sleep, but a deeper peace that settles your heart, even when the storms of life are raging around you. This isn't just another feel-good message. It's a sacred invitation, an opportunity to lay down your burdens and experience something extraordinary. And it begins with 3 simple words spoken by Jesus himself. Come to me. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verses 28 to 30, Jesus offers an invitation that resonates as deeply today as it did 2,000 years ago. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. At first glance, these words might sound simple, but if you pause and really take them in, they carry a profound truth. The rest we're longing for isn't found in a vacation, a distraction, or even in solving our problems. It's found in a person in Jesus Christ. Think about it. In a culture that glorifies hustle and endless productivity, we're taught to carry everything ourselves. To be strong, to push through no matter how exhausted we feel. Yet here's Jesus, gently saying, you don't have to do this alone. I remember a time in my life when I felt utterly defeated. I was working long hours, juggling responsibilities, and trying to meet everyone's expectations. On the outside, I looked like I had it all together, but inside, I was exhausted, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. One evening, I found myself sitting alone in my car after a particularly hard day. The weight of everything felt unbearable. I didn't have the words to pray, but I whispered one thing: help me, Lord. That's when this verse came to mind. It was as if Jesus was sitting right there with me, saying, you don't have to carry this alone. Let me help you. In that moment, I felt a peace I can't fully explain. My circumstances didn't magically change, but my heart did. It was as if I had been carrying a heavy backpack for miles, and someone finally said, let me take that from you. But what does it mean to take my yoke upon you, as Jesus says? A yoke, in agricultural terms, is a wooden frame placed on the shoulders of 2 oxen to help them share the burden of pulling a heavy load. When Jesus invites us to take his yoke, he's not adding to our burdens. He's offering to share them. His yoke is easy because it's custom made for us. He doesn't ask us to be anyone we're not. He doesn't pile on expectations. Instead, he walks alongside us, carrying the weight we were never meant to bear alone. This image is so powerful because it reminds us that following Jesus doesn't mean our lives will be free of challenges. It means we're never facing those challenges alone. The rest Jesus offers isn't just physical, it's a rest for your soul. It's the kind of peace that allows you to trust, even when you don't have all the answers. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you're held by a God who loves you unconditionally. In Psalm 46:10, God says, be still, and know that I am God. In the original Hebrew, the phrase, be still, can also be translated as cease striving. How often do we strive trying to prove ourselves, trying to fix everything on our own? And how often does that striving leave us more exhausted than ever? Jesus doesn't demand perfection. He doesn't expect us to figure it all out. He simply invites us to come to him, just as we are, messy, broken, and weary, and to let him do what only he can do, bring healing, hope, and rest. You might be wondering, how do I actually experience this rest in my daily life? Here are a few simple steps. 1. Create sacred space. Set aside a few minutes each day to be still before God. Turn off your phone, close the door, and simply sit in His presence. You don't need fancy words or long prayers, just an open heart. 2. Meditate on His Word. Verses like Matthew 11:28-30 and Psalm 46-10 are powerful reminders of God's promises. Write them down, carry them with you, and let them anchor your thoughts when life feels overwhelming. 3. Surrender your burdens. Imagine placing your worries in God's hands. Speak them aloud if it helps. Lord, I give you my fear about the future. I give you my frustration at work. I give you my doubts and my struggles. 4. Seek community. We're not meant to walk this journey alone. Find a group of people who will pray with you, encourage you, and remind you of God's truth when you need it most. 5. Trust the process. Resting in God doesn't mean everything will make sense right away. But as you trust Him, you'll begin to see His faithfulness in ways you never expected. As we close, I want to leave you with this truth. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. There is a God who loves you more than you can imagine, and He's inviting you to find rest in Him. What's one burden you need to surrender to God today? Have you ever experienced the kind of peace that only God can give? What was that like for you? How can we encourage each other to trust God's invitation to rest? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's create a space where we can lift each other up and remind one another of the incredible rest and peace that God offers. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, no matter where you are or what you're facing, you're never alone. God is with you, and His rest is always within reach.